Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB postgame show. Your Philadelphia Eagles are 2024 NFC champions and are headed to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years with a statement dominant win today from start to finish, putting up one of the most explosive performances in NFC championship history. Jalen Hurts, sensational. Eagles defense, sensational. Saquon Barkley, sensational. They did it, and it's 55-23, and I'm still kind of shell-shocked that this team put up 55 points in an NFC championship game. Big Sills, as you know, 30 minutes removed. Now we're a segment deep. You know, what's going through your head up there, man, after the Eagles are
more impressed with the defense. I am. They are just and have been dominant the entire year. I mean, well, after the bye is when they really started kicking it up. Dude, okay, you're going to get me saying something here.
Here we go.
That I thought I would never say in my life. Nolan Smith has arrived. He's arrived.
Most playoff sacks in Eagles history.
He has arrived. From a guy who, from Seth to everyone, said this guy doesn't belong in the league. Dude, he belongs. He is now, I mean, you know what he does too? He softens the blow of Huff. You move off of that guy because of what this kid looks like. I still think his size is going to be an issue moving forward on length of career. But boy, I'll tell you, man, did he have 2 sacks in the ball game today?
I know he had that big sack obviously late in the game, but I don't know if he had 2 today. I'm trying to find the stat that I found for Nolan Smith. I'm pretty sure he now surpassed Hassan Reddick for the Eagles franchise record holder for most sacks in a single postseason is now Nolan Smith. So man, we talked about needing a Hassan Reddick type of player.
Got him.
You might have him here in Nolan Smith. Yeah, we want to see it in year 2 here for year 3, but year 2 of him really being a player. Pretty remarkable what he's done. And he really looks like a force too, doesn't he?
Oh, my God. But here, look at this. Kobe Dean from Georgia. Jalen Carter from Georgia. Today, Davis had a great game. And now you're talking Nolan Smith. Every one of these guys are now playing to their draft where they – Jordan, I'd like to see a little more, but I thought in a big game, that's the best game I've ever seen him play as a Philadelphia Eagle. Because with the stakes being the way they were, Jordan Davis had a great game. I think all the Georgia kids, man, obviously Dean couldn't because he was injured, but all the Georgia guys played great today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And my guy Killadelph in the chat, Killadelph, appreciate you, man. Great point by you. He brings up what a gutsy performance that was by your offensive line. You got players in. Cam Jurgens is, couldn't go. Landon Dickerson looks like he can barely walk. He's gutting it out. Cam Jurgens comes in. I mean, just a really gutsy performance by that offensive line. 55 points, man, with a banged-up O-line.
So guess what we have going on here? So Monday, Angelo's coming out at 3:30, and he goes, so do I have to come with my hat and my ass here? Do I have to? I go like this. Don't worry. I'm in the same boat with you. I'm in the same boat with you. So we can sit here and take heat on Monday at 3:30. So Angelo's going to be with us at 3:30 too. So, but by the way, again, one thing, man, this is what you wanted to see. This is the stuff you're paying for here. This is what you want your offensive guys to look like. And you put your best performance of the season in the NFC Championship game. Kudos to you, man. Hey, by the way, congratulations for doing your fucking job. This is what you guys have wanted all year long, and now you got a shot at the Super Bowl. You're 60 minutes away from putting another ring there on those guys' fingers like Lane Johnson. That's pretty damn awesome, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Really unbelievable stuff. What this team was able to do today with a 55-23 win. I read you guys some of the numbers. Just, I thought it was Jalen Hurts' best game of the year, and I, it's one of my favorite things about the kid is, you have your issues with him and moments, you scratch your head. Why are you holding the ball? Why are you doing that? But when you need him the most, he really does seem to show up And I think that the way he handles it himself is a big part in that. So I was super impressed with the quarterback's performance today. I think he deserves the utmost credit for what he was able to do today. And it's got to feel good for him too, by the way. I know he's not, I know people say Jalen doesn't read the headlines, and I don't know. Maybe he doesn't, but it's got to feel good to be the quarterback of this team and to know how pivotal of a part you played in today's game. After everybody talked about, oh, you're being carried and you have Saquon, and then we won the game today a lot in large part because Jalen Hurts delivered the ball and delivered the goods.
Well, all of that was true. He changed the narrative today. Remember what we said when we opened the program off on the pregame? This is a chance for you to change narratives and also have a chance to play for history. Well, that's what he did. I'm not going to relent on the fact that he's been the caboose the entire season, because he has. Today, he was the star of the NFC Championship game. That's not a wrong narrative, okay? And are you the star in one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game to date in the season? Absolutely. That's the game you want him to be the star in. Hey, he could have been the caboose, but I'll tell you what it also does. It also shows a little bit of this. Hey, man, you know what? The team needed me to make some plays today in the passing game, and I did. This goes back a little bit to what you said, Xander. Hey, when they needed it, AJ stepped up. Everyone stepped up. I think this team could smell it now. I think they can smell it now that they have an opportunity. And I do think that 2022 team, that 23 Super Bowl loss, I think it's going to pay dividends in those guys going forward and playing in this game, whoever it is, Bills or the Chiefs.
Right. I agree 100%, man. That type of experience is invaluable. I'll use a Jalen Hurts quote here on the show. I didn't walk through the fire just to smell the smoke, baby. So I think it's a good point by you, though. I think they will learn from that. And I think their approach to this Super Bowl will be a little bit different than 22. 22, you got a team of young players. AJ's never been there. Devontae's never been there. Jalen's never been there. Miles Sanders had never been there. Most of the O-line had never been there with the exception of Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. So really impressive. And I think they're going to have a different approach, man, coming into this Super Bowl. And I think it's a good point by you. They learned from that probably. And like I said, Jalen was smiley, but he wasn't like he was in 22 on the NFC title stage. He knows job's not finished. I got one more.
I think he should revel in this, and I think the team should really, because again, this is an opportunity. You remember, you got 2 weeks in this whole process here too. So if I'm them, hey man, take your justice, take your rewards here. This has been a long season, and this has been a banged up. Look at the guys that have been banged up in this football game, and them to go out there and pound that Redskin team into oblivion, dude. Kudos to every single This here was a roster win. This wasn't just a star win. The roster won. Guys on special teams making plays. Guys that were backups in the offensive line making plays. Backup linebackers making plays. There were guys all over the field you hadn't seen contribute in a while. Jordan Davis, who puts up goose eggs most of the time during the regular season, showed up. Dude, this was a roster win. And it's an impressive roster win. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you need 53 men, not 22 guys, or not what the Dallas Cowboys have. The Cowboys have 5 good players on their team. The rest of that roster sucks. That's not the case in Philly.
Dan, 55 points in an NFC title game. We've mentioned that a lot on the show. And obviously, you've been around this game for a long time, covering it, playing it, every part of it you've been a part of. Have you ever seen anything like this in a championship game? I'm obviously a younger fan. I can't think of it, but to put up 55 like this in an NFC championship game, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. Have you seen anything like this?
I got to think, Xander, that this is the most points scored maybe by either AFC or NFC teams in conference history. I don't remember a 55-point. Now, Carolina put up 49 points in 2016. Yeah, it's the most points in NFC championship history, the 55 points. The Giants beat the Vikings 41-0 in 2001. Carolina beat Arizona 49-15. The Washington Commanders beat the Detroit Lions 41-10 in 91. And the Bears beat the Saints 39-14 in 07. This is the most points scored by any team in NFC championship history.
Okay, so I have a series of 2 questions for you. Okay. And I might put you in a little bit of a pickle. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see what he has to say. All right. The first question is, this is now the Eagles' second trip to the Super Bowl in 3 years. Okay. I know we didn't win the one in 22, and I know we haven't won yet this one. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but I will say 2 trips in 3 years is impressive. Are we witnessing a dynasty forming? Remember, we're one of the youngest teams in the NFL right now. And every player on our offense, with the exception of Lane Johnson, who's obviously older, and Mekhi Becton, are basically under contract for next season. Are we witnessing a dynasty forming in the city of brotherly love?
No. Dynasties are winners. And Kansas City's the dynasty. Okay? Now, if you want to kind of move that question around, the building of one? Yes.
Okay.
Okay? The building of one. But, Xander, dynasty talk, when you start going, you're a great franchise, and you are. We've won a ton of games, which you have. You haven't won championships, okay? NFC silver medal titles are great. I'm not saying they're not great. I use them all the time as barometers for coaches and players on how many games you've been in. I'm not downplaying it. But if you start talking about the greatest players in the history of the game, the greatest teams of all time, you've got to separate it somewhere with championships. You just can't come in. Hey, do you think the Buffalo Bills going to 4 straight Super Bowls, do you think that's a dynasty?
Yeah, right. No, it's not. Clearly. They had Jim Kelly on NFL Network this morning, and he talked about it. I mean, he still thinks about all those losses.
Right. So, I mean, if Jim Kelly, who went to 4 Super Bowls in a row with 4 AFC titles, is not a dynasty, this is not either. However, again, what you chronicled by saying, yeah, but Sills, look at all the young players. Look at all this and that. And I know there's work to do in free agency with what we got to do with signing Bond and Becton and all the rest of these guys. Completely true. But if you win it, I'll tell you what you now do if you win it. Now you're talking about 2 and 8 years, 3 NFC championships.
Right.
Do you start saying, Sills, is that the best NFC dynasty that you've seen in 10 years? Can you name me another team in the NFC that has gone on to do that in the last 10 years? The answer is no. So then you start saying this, and you beat Kansas City. That's why you want to validate it even more, going, we're the best team in the NFL. And in the last 10 years, we're starting to get in the same conversation with Kansas City. Championships matter in that talk, Xander.
Yep.
I'm not downplaying what you're saying.
No, I think what you said was perfect. Yep. Got to win one. You're 60 minutes away from the start. You're 60 minutes away from the start, I think, of a dynasty.
Well, at
least the start of what could be a dynasty.
Yes.
All right, here's my second question. You ready? Is Jalen Hurts now officially an elite championship caliber quarterback?
Good question. He's played elite in 2 games this year. One of the games mattered the most, the NFC title game. And now he's in his second Super Bowl in 3 years. I got to tell you, man, second Super Bowl in 3 years, I don't give a fuck if he had 92 yards passing in this game. You're in the game, and you were the reason you're in the Super Bowl in this ball game. Man, that's awful impressive. It is. I don't think he's a week-to-week elite player, but I think he has elite moments that really now he's perfect for the way that they're building this football team. It's a tough question because I don't think 2903 is elite in any way, shape, or form. I don't think he was consistent at all this year, and I don't think he was consistent in the playoffs. But when it mattered the most, he showed up. It's a tough question for me. So to me, he had an elite day today. That's as far as I'll go. Now, if he wins the Super Bowl, and he turns around and looks at me and goes, dude, 2 NFC championships and a Super Bowl win in 3 years. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Then get this. This is where I go, eat crow.
And here's what I would say about it. I don't think anything you said was wrong. I mean, in terms of you talking about elite quarterbacks, 29-3 is not what it looks like. But this is what I love, and I don't care about that as much as you. But I will say this: I love that he practices what he preaches in terms of, he says, keep the main thing the main thing. It's one thing to say that, and he truly doesn't care. Whatever it takes to win a football game on any given Sunday is what Jalen Hurts wants to do. Whether we or you or John or the great people listening or, Howie Roseman thinks that's elite, he doesn't care. All he wants to do is win the game, and it's going to look different each week. And I love that he practices what he preaches with that, because it's easy to walk the walk. It's a whole nother thing to talk, and or talk to talk, not walk to walk, excuse me. But I think he really does that, and that's probably my favorite part about Jalen Hurts.
I got to tell you, man, the Philadelphia Eagles, they have the best O-line coach in pro football history. They have
that's a big statement.
I think he's the best coach, offensive line coach in NFL. I've never seen guys just step in off the field and just get in there, and there's no – you had 230 yards rushing, and you had guys going in and out at the guard center position. It's unbelievable, man. And by the way, no dissing of Barkley, but Jeff Stoutland, dude.
Yeah. This O-line's the MVP of this team, and I don't say that with any slight on anybody else. This O-line is remarkable.
Remarkable. By the way, Xander, just for historical reference, the Eagles today scored the most points in NFL history, 55. It is Carolina at 49. The Falcons scored 44 and that's third and 17. The Giants in 2001 scored 41. The Redskins scored 41. Also in 92, the Eagles scored, this is most points ever scored by a Philadelphia Eagle team in playoff history. 2018, they beat the Minnesota Vikings, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 38-7 in that NFC Championship game. And yeah, they scored the most points in an NFC Championship game by any Philadelphia Eagle team, and they outdid the Panthers, who beat the Arizona Cardinals 49-15. So no question about it, man. It's the most points ever scored. It was a historic day for the Eagles in their franchise.
No doubt about it, man. Unbelievable stuff. And two great questions there. Sills, I thought you had really good answers to both of them. With the team potentially being in a dynasty or getting there or approaching it, and the quarterback. Now I want to ask you one more here. What does this win mean today, Sills, for Nick Sirianni and this coaching staff? I think he's another guy that there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of credit that gets pulled away from Nick, whether right or wrong. And I think if you're Nick, you pull a Jalen and you say, two NFC championships in 3 years. I don't give a shit what you think of me, right? What do you think this win means for Nick Sirianni and his staff?
I mean, I think it's now incredible that he's now in his second Super Bowl in 3 years. And I believe with that win now, he's 4-3 in postseason play. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jalen Hurts is now 4-3 in playoff play too. So you're now above the Mendoza line. There's very few people that are above the Mendoza line where you are now when it comes to winning it. Whatever you say about it, whatever you want to give him or not give him credit for, and Angelo and I are in that level. I mean, you're starting to talk about, like Yale just said, it's next level stuff here where you're starting to look at the record in the regular season. I think it now. I'll ask. Let me flip it back to you. Do you think it's more about the organization or Nick? See, I happen to think it's more about the organization hiring Nick.
See, this is where I struggle with it, because I do think it's
organizational more, Xander, than it is the coach.
Yeah, but at what point do you look at the coach and give him the credit? Because it's not – look, this isn't the first team in history to have a good roster. Let's be real. I mean, they have a great roster. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, I think what Nick has done in terms of – and I was teasing a lot yesterday about some stuff off the record that John gave me. And it's nothing big, but it did make me feel really good about the team. And some of the stories I heard, Sills, that happened inside the locker room this year and even just this week, this team has no locker room issues, man. They really don't. All the stuff I'm telling you right now, this team is so bought in. They are so together. They truly fight and play for the guy next to them on the field. And I think it's really evident when you get late in the season here and you see how much they do that. But to me, That's Nick Sirianni,
Well,
right?
well,
It's one thing to have a great roster. I get that. That's
well,
how.
wait a minute. Then what
The
happened?
way they're
last year when
galvanized.
then what happened last year when they melted down? I mean, where did they learn from that? Was that just part of the learning?
Yeah.
Remember Marcus Hayes said something. As much as Jalen's learning to be a star quarterback, you think Nick's still learning to be a head coach in this league too? That maybe again last year was a learning curve moment.
Right. Remember the crazy stat I gave you about all the greatest coaches in NFL history and how long it took them to win their first Super Bowl? I gave you all the best coaches, and I do think there's an element of there of learning, and I just give credit to Nick because this team does show up every day. It's one thing to have great players, but to have them play for you and for your team and fight for the man next to them, that to me is set by the coach. Whether you have a good GM or a good organization or not, if you don't have the right guy leading them or the right guy as your head coach, you're not going to have this level of success. At least that's how I feel.
Do you think the culture is any different today than it was under Doug Peterson? See, I don't. I think that culture is set from the front office and who they're hiring and who they hire.
I think it's a little
how they set the table. So you think it's different today than it was with Doug?
I mean, it's different more in a sense that the two coaches are so different. Like Nick and Doug are so different. You know how the people say your team takes on the personality of your coach? It feels different in that regard. But what you're saying organizationally, okay. I see what you're saying, where they have a standard and things like that they brought into the organization. Perhaps some of that. And maybe that's a credit to Howie and Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, for setting that. Yeah.
I mean, this is Howie's best year as a general manager, even if they don't win it. This is best year.
Yeah.
There's too many all pros. There's too many things that the hiring, the drafting, there's too many things that just look too good. I mean, to me, I'm going to say this. I think that Allen or Mahomes, whoever ends up winning the AFC, I think, in my opinion, I think they're going to be the underdog heading into that football game. And Buffalo, by the way, has a 10-7 lead in that ball game too, with about 8:29.
Wait, who do you think is going to be the underdog?
I think anybody who wins the AFC is going to be the underdog.
Okay, you think the Eagles are going to be favored? I was going to say
that. I think the Eagles are going to be favored in the ball game.
Yeah, I do too. And if the Eagles play like they did today, I'm pretty confident to saying we're going to have a parade down Broad Street in 2 weeks. I like these two AFC teams. I don't think they can keep up if the Eagles can play like they did today. With that defense swarming, and if Jalen's able to make throws like he did today, boy, how about that 4th and 5 throw? I know it looked like there might have been a penalty missed there, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. That was a dime by Jalen Hurts. A dime, big cells.
You want to hear something else too? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Jalen Hurts has broken a curse that if you lost the Super Bowl, that you got back to it in your first one. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's the first quarterback to lose a Super Bowl and then get back and win it. Or if he wins it, or even get back, I think he's broke that curse to where I have to look that up. But I think the quarterback who had lost the Super Bowl had never gotten back in his first attempt, had never gone back. Marino never got back to one. And
didn't Mahomes lose his first one? He lost his first one.
No, he won his first one. No, he
lost to Brady.
No, he won his first one. Mahomes won his first Super Bowl, lost his second one to Brady. Yeah, wow. He won his first Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Mahomes won his first Super Bowl.
Well, pretty good stuff. And, I thought your answer to the Nick Sirianni question was a good one. I'd like to ask everybody, what does this change for Nick? I thought you gave a pretty good answer right now. And then you answered my next question. Do you think the Eagles are going to be favorites? I do think they're going to be favorites. Which team do you think they match up better with? We're going to find out the answer to who they play in a couple of hours. But who do you think they match up better with?
The
Bills. I want the Chiefs, but I do think the Bills.
The Bills, I don't think the Bills have the defense or the roster to hang with that team. I think they'd have to get into a shootout with them. And, I don't think so.
I don't know. That Bills defense, I think, can be got.
Okay. I do too. I think Kansas City's the tougher game. Okay. Yeah, that's right. The previous 19 quarterbacks to lose their Super Bowl debut as a starter never made it back. And yeah, because that's right.
It's the last 19 who did it.
What's that?
You said it's the last 19 quarterbacks who did it?
Jalen Hurts breaks curse. The 19 quarterback, previous 19 quarterbacks lose their Super Bowl. Here they are: Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick, Rex Grossman, Matt Hasselbeck, Donovan McNabb, Jake Delhomme, Rich Gannon, Kerry Collins, Steve McNair,
Wow,
Chris Chandler, Drew Bledsoe, Neil O'Donnell, and Stan Humphries. This goes back to 1994. The last 19 quarterbacks to have lost the Super Bowl in their debut. It is the first time that a quarterback has gone back to a Super Bowl after losing his debut Super Bowl, and that guy is Jalen Hurts.
Wow, incredible stuff there. Incredible stat. Jalen Hurts headed back to the Super Bowl. How about this, Sills? I'll give you something. All right. 3 playoff games now for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. They have 10 takeaways and 0 turnovers. 10 takeaways to 0 turnovers for this football team. If I told you that, okay, the next 3 playoff games, you're going to have 10 takeaways and 3 turnovers, you would have said it 3 weeks ago. You'll be in the Super Bowl. You'll be in the Super Bowl.
If they continue that trend heading into the Super Bowl against either Kansas City or Buffalo, they're going to blow them out too. I mean, you can't have that.
Can you imagine a 55 burger in the Super Bowl? Holy
against Kansas City too. Against Kansas City. Hey man, I'm just saying to you, that's the best football game I've seen them play in 4 years. That was with all the stakes, with all that was on the line here for this game, the Hurts 92 net yards passing in 2 games, AJ with 3 catches for 24. You looked at the defense; it was a completely Barkley football team in the first 2 rounds. Then you get into the NFC title game, and everybody showed up. By the way, name me a guy that's not a high significant first-round pick or big free agent that didn't show up in that football game that has been playing all year long. Devontae played well. I thought he had some big catches in the ball game as well. Goddard played. Every single star player in your offense showed up today.
No doubt about it. And great stuff coming out of the locker room. Apparently, Jalen Hurts smoking on a victory cigar. We're going to talk to John McMullen soon, but you can imagine he's probably bogged down, so he's going to be running a little bit late today. I want to read a couple of Super Chat, Sills. We did the promotion, all right, today, and I think we're going to set our record for the most Super Chats ever in a live show. Every Super Chat we get today will be used to buy more jerseys to give away to the great people of JAKIB Nation this week. All right. So I'm going back and I'm looking to stock up and give away a boatload of jerseys on the Super Bowl run.
Have you seen people are sending me pictures from downtown Philly?
Are they
sending me videos from down on Broad Street? People are now walking Broad Street right now, and they're all over the city right now. They're cheering all over right now. So hey, man, you got everybody going nuts right now, man.
They're on the
I've got 1,000 pictures. Sills, I'm down here on Broad Street. Get your ass down here. Hey, by the way, eat crow. And I'm going like, look at these guys, man. This is really cool, man. A lot of dope videos being sent to me right now from the folks in Philly.
Yeah, unbelievable. They're on the greased poles and everything out there in the great city of brotherly love. Like I said, man, I'm just kind of reveling in this now a little bit that this team is going back. The job is not finished, but I'm happy for this city, man. I love when this city gets stuff like this because they're a great city, man, a passionate city, and they deserve it. The great people of Philly, you watch, Sills. The economy will be flowing better. You'll walk into a coffee shop in the morning and everybody will be, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Everybody's happier in this city, man, when this team wins.
If you're the New York Giants, what are you thinking right now when you watch Barkley walking out with his kid out of the locker room? He's on his way to New Orleans. You didn't want to resign the guy. You're looking at maybe one of the most high-profile Giants in the last 25 years, and there he is walking in there, and, hey, there he is walking into New Orleans. Dude, what a story for him. What a story for Zach. Hey, I'm not going to piss on anything here today, okay? But, dude, Zach Vaughn, I don't know. Maybe that number's gone up to 20 annually, man, because that fucker's making himself almost where you can't pay for the guy. I mean, dude, he's been the best linebacker in football. I don't know how he's not the defensive player.
I know, you're right. Do you think there's an element there because – and look, I hate pocket counting, and I know I don't want to go down that road. I hope Zach Bond gets every dollar he deserves. But I will say this. Don't you think if you're Howie, I mean, you say to him, look at what we have an opportunity here for.
Oh, you're going to use his emotions against him?
Give me 14. Come on, Zach. 14 versus 18, but you're going to have a chance to go back to the Super Bowl.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Howie. If you want to give me a 4th year instead of a 3-year contract, give me a 4-year, I'll hang here and I'll do 11 to $13 million.
How about 14 fully guaranteed for 3 years?
How much? 14,
but fully guarantee it all for 3 years.
They won't fully guarantee it, but if they give me a nice bag up front, I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. I think they're going to do whatever it takes to keep Zach Bond in the great city. He is unbelievable. So every time you I'm not saying I doubted him, but there is an element of
how do you not doubt it?
Could this guy not be an all-pro in any given game? And then he just continues to show up, man, and look better than he did the week before. It's pretty unbelievable how good the guy is. And nobody found him his first 4 years in the league. He was sitting on in a depth role in New Orleans.
Remember the scenario? Well, Dean's not really panning out. And, he's not panning out. So what did he do? They brought him in to be a Van Ginkel kind of guy and rush him off the edge. And you know what he said? Well, I don't know if he can play inside. We're going to find out. He seems to be very smart. All of a sudden now, the guy's the best linebacker in football. I mean, that includes Roquan Smith and Fred Warner. Dude, I've never seen anything like what I've seen with this transformation into this kid. Dude, how about Micaiah Becton, a guy who was constantly injured every year in New York with the Jets? This guy played every game. Dude, you're looking at the Jets needed O-lineman. They get rid of a guy they took in the first round, and they got rid of him, and now he's playing. Dude, he's had a great postseason, Micaiah Becton. He is just manhandling people up there. I thought the Washington Commanders, I thought a couple of those O-line guys, I thought they were going to start waving a white flag going, I surrender. Becton was murdering. My wife goes like this, who is that guy? Oh, the Washington Monument? Right. Holy shit, that guy, I told her she's like 6'8", 385 pounds. The guy's immense, man. I mean, holy cow. What a great year by guys who Howie brought in.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you gave him a little bit of credit earlier, but I am going to give a credit to one of the opponents today, or one of the players on the opponents. Zach Ertz delivers a big game, man. And there's a video of him floating around where him and Fletcher Cox were hugging it out in the back. Which is pretty cool, man. Those guys had a lot of moments here in Philly. Obviously won a Super Bowl here in the great city of brotherly love. So pretty cool. And I do want to give a little credit to Zach.
Hey, Zach, I'll tell you this, man. I saw the Adam Peters, general manager, go over to him. And I can imagine he probably said he played his ass off in a place where he has made so much history. How cool is that to watch a guy like that play? And you're sitting there as an Eagle fan, and you know the kind of guy he is. You know how important he is in Eagle history. And there he was out there just competing against his team. Probably had massive mixed emotions in that whole thing because he's an Eagle at heart. But right now he's a Commander. And the way he played, I thought was sensational. 11 catches, like you said, over 100 yards receiving. That's the Zach Ertz of a couple of years ago we all remember.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Unbelievable stuff there for the great Zach Ertz. So good job by him, and we do give a shout out to him. Look, he's one of those guys that's loved here in Philly. So he obviously had big plays in that Super Bowl that we won. Right now, our only Super Bowl in franchise history. Maybe that will no longer be the case, everybody. Maybe we have another one on the horizon. We will certainly be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Do you feel better about this Super Bowl appearance than you did in 22?
It's a good question. That's a good question. I think you feel better about it today. At least maybe it's the benefit of the now. Or being a prisoner.
Now you whacked San Francisco pretty good, and you beat the shit out of them.
Yes, we
did.
You
took 2 quarterbacks out in that ball game.
And remember,
you're feeling pretty good about that team heading into that game.
It's two different things because in 22, you didn't – not that I don't want to say we had questions about Hurts, but we didn't really see him play like an MVP candidate this year. 22, he was an MVP player most of the year. So you felt super good about that going into the Super Bowl. This year, this game was so big because I think it really showed all of the things that you might be concerned with on this team, or what might get this team, or what might happen, if it doesn't go all perfect. They kind of answered every single one of those questions today with the way they played the game. And I think that gives you a sense of confidence going into the thing. But if I'm being real, Sills, my confidence in the Super Bowl has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts, and it's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. It has everything to do with Saquon Barkley and the no-holds defense that has played unbelievable. 10 takeaways in these playoffs to 0 giveaways for the offense. I mean, that's where the confidence comes from, man.
Can I I didn't think that Vic was this young. I didn't know he's only 66 years old.
He could coach for another 5 years.
Wait a second. How come he doesn't get any love for another head coaching shot? If you gave Pete Carroll an opportunity at 70+ years old to coach the Raiders, dude, this is one of the best defensive turnarounds. And look at the player development across the line that they've had this year with this. The coaching staff that was assembled on defense this year, the linebacker coach, the D-line coach with Clint Hurt, the secondary coach, all of those guys, Xander, those guys are going to be premium candidates in future years when it comes to potentially being coaches or coordinators across the league. That's a job well done across the board. As bad as last year's hirings were, these hirings this year were sensational.
Yeah, they really were, and that's Howie Roseman. I mean, we put up the graphic the other day of all the players for an AP Player of the Year. Zach Bond's a finalist, Saquon Barkley's a finalist, Quinyon and Cooper are finalists, Vic Fangio's a finalist. Those are all off-season additions by Howie Roseman. And I know we joke about Bryce Huff, and he looked even shitty today when he came in the reserve role. He was just a miss, but. It's one of those things where you chalk up the loss and you take the good with the bad, and you're really fired up about it because Howie had his best offseason ever.
You think he had a better year than he had in 22?
I do.
I mean, White panned out. The 2 defensive tackles created depth. You brought in, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they trade for AJ that offseason in the draft?
Yep, that was big.
You brought AJ in, then you brought those 2 defensive tackles in.
Yeah, but you know what the difference was?
You brought Hassan Reddick in too.
Wasn't that the year we drafted Jordan Davis in 20?
Yes, 22.
Look at now again, not even trying to knock Jordan Davis, but he wasn't an impact like Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell have been this year. Your first 2 picks that year were Cam Jurgens, I believe, and Jordan Davis. Both great players, but they didn't impact that Super Bowl year like these 2 guys are. These guys started every play today. Think about that. 2 guys you took in last year's draft.
I thought Jordan Davis played his best football game I've seen him play as an Eagle today.
Look at this question. Let me correct the narrative on this, all right? Zay, are you going to waive the 125 scrimmage yards and give the people a jersey? Keith, we're giving away a lot more than a Saquon jersey, brother. Every super chat today is going to jerseys. I don't care about no 125 number. I'm giving away jerseys all week long, Keith. Are you kidding me, Keith? We're going to a Super Bowl, baby.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Hey, for the record, one more time. You can't look at this thing here and not just absolutely just be amazed by how well they played. I don't think you guys are really looking at how well this was orchestrated. Passing game was great. Run game was great. Run stopping defense was great. Pass coverage was great. The whole fucking thing was spectacular. The coaching across the board. Now, I will say this. Them going for 2 and not kicking that extra point, which you would have made it a 2-possession game, when he went for the 2 and they didn't get it, you could probably bitch at that a little bit. But when you put a 55 burger on somebody, all that shit's a race, Xander. You get the wide out for that and go like this. Yeah. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a wide out conversation where you just wide it out after you say it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm going to read through a couple of our great super chats that we got here in the show. Some people dropping big ones. Polsky, how you doing, Sills? Appreciate you, Polsky. And how about, we brought it up earlier, but I want to bring it up again for those who missed it. Brian Pumper, obviously famous on here on the JAKIB chats for.
Thank you, Brian.
his discredit of Jalen Hurts, and he's even said, man of my word, Jalen Hurts deserves the praise. The kid did it again. I can't even hate one more game, and he dropped $50. So let's give a little credit to Brian Pumper. Excellent by him. And that $50 will be taken, and we'll buy some jerseys to give away to the great people of JAKIB Nation. So well done there. James M. checked in and said, belt to ass. Simple as that. F with Rocky, and you get the leather. Happens every year, NFC Championship game.
Hey, by the way, James, the Rocky statue curse thing continues to live. Anybody who desecrates the Rocky statue ends up getting their face kicked in.
I think I thought that was fake news, or that it wasn't actually Commanders fans who did that. But anyway, nonetheless, we felt the ass happened, right, for sure. J-Mac checks in. J-Mac 4-2. There you go. Sounds like Johnny McMullen. As the vice president of the Jalen Haters Club, he carried the team today along with the defense, and I can't talk shit no more. One more, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's go, J-Mac.
J-Mac, I'm with you. I'm in your room there with you, brother. I feel it too. Wait till Angelo comes on at 3:30. I asked him today. He goes, I can only take one day of ass beating. So I was trying to get him on today, Xander, but we'll get him on tomorrow. He's like, I can only take one day of getting my ass kicked.
Yeah, good stuff. Dirty D checks in with 50. Man, thanks to everybody for all the great support on the channel. By the way, you guys have made this season our most successful season ever at JAKIB Sports, and it's really all because of the great people and the community that we've built here on the channel between myself, John, and obviously Dan Sileo, host of the National Football Show. It's been an unbelievable season, and we're still going, everybody. It's not over yet. Not many teams, not many fan bases, not many sports hosts in the city can say that they're still going on January 26th. Okay, so we are
ball now.
Yes, so we're in rare form here in Philly. Dirty D checks in. That's how you win a ball game. Hungry dogs run faster, and I didn't eat breakfast, so I'm friggin' pissed off. Jason Kelsey, let's go, baby. One more. Breaking out my leather Eagles Super Bowl jacket. Third time it's left the closet in 7 years. Look
How
at that.
do you feel about now you're back in the game as an Eagle fan, growing up, you and your pop, living in the city all the years? Surely, dude. I mean, this is another shot at it, right?
Yeah, and I told the people last night, I was out yesterday all in the cities, driving around. I was all down in South Philly. I was, driving through the city. You can feel it in the air. But so honestly, man, I'm just happy for the people because I don't think people I don't just mean the city loves their sports teams. That's not what I mean when I say this city lives and breathes this. Many people in this city use this team as an outlet from some of the stuff that they have going on in their life or the bullshit or this is a real thing that galvanizes this city, and I think they deserve it, man. That's what I'm most excited for, that the great people of Philadelphia get to experience another run, and I really hope we can cap it off with a parade.
Absolutely. And Xander, we're talking to the folks for almost 5 years now in Philly, and people who are outliers too, because obviously other people chime in from San Francisco, from all over the country, but 90% of the people are from Philadelphia. I got to tell you guys, man, I mean, you guys run the radio stations, you run our network, you run the Inquirer, because you run it with your passion, because you love these teams so much, especially, dude, I don't care about the Sixers, the Flyers, or the Phillies. Philadelphia is an Eagle city. It is an NFL city, and the rest of them are fighting for second, third, and fourth place.
Yeah, now maybe years back it was started probably as a
Flyers.
Philly. Well, Flyers are way back when in the 70s, probably. You're right about that.
Yeah, 70s.
But more recently, Phillies, and then after 2010, I really think this Eagles team is just an Eagles city now. Polsky Trucker, man, thank you for the support. They put pressure on JD and made him throw perfect passes every time. He also had the Commanders fighting for every yard. Yeah, no doubt. Defense.
I thought he played great. I thought he was great in that football
I thought Jaden was good, but he just went up against the real king of the NFC. All right, the real king of the NFC.
Yes, the real king of the NFC is a factual comment. Absolutely.
Yes, it is. It's 100% factual. All right, we have John McMullen who's texting me. He's coming up shortly. Big Sills is going to be sending me an invoice after the show. Hey, man, I thought this was a 90-minute program. We're going to be going a little overtime. We'll talk to John McMullen shortly once Nick gets off the podium. Does anybody know if Nick has stopped speaking yet? That's where we'll be. Whoa, here we go. Schmidt Digler with a $100 burger right to the giveaway fund. Schmidt, thank you, brother. Super Bowl, baby. Let's effing go. Great year, great community.
Thank you.
Thanks for the outlet to come together and root for our team. Schmidt, Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's an awesome super chat.
That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, it really is, Sills. I say it all the time to these people how much
Me
it's
too.
an honor to talk to them football, man. All day. It's what we do. We're privileged to be able to do it, and we got some great fans here.
Hey, I've been talking sports for almost 40 years, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever done is have a seat in front of people where I get a chance to talk sports. No question about it, man. It's why I don't take days off. It's why Xander doesn't take days off. You can always tell when people love what they're doing. You know how that is? People don't take their days off. They don't take days off, and they don't take shows off, and they don't do this to Xander. Hey, I got nothing to talk about today. You know, they don't do that shit.
5 years with Sileo, I've never
always something to talk about.
5 years with Sileo, I've never heard him say that. Actually, the year could be 2055, and he'll still have something to talk about when it comes to this team. So you're getting that. Schmidt, thank you, man. That's a really cool super chat, brother. I appreciate it, and it has been a great honor.